How do PVB respond to this? Locking in Kai'Sa for themselves feels like they're willing to take a bit more of a back foot on the bottom side.
Yeah, definitely the case. Certainly will be a strong scaling style of lane. This is something that we did see them actually show in play-ins. Big Koro was massive in the late game when he did get there on the Kai'Sa. Pallet certainly can play very well on the Galio and is very adept at actually assisting his side lanes in that. Now we are going to see PVB trying to focus on Smithy a bit, trying to stop him from being able to actually affect these lanes. And Skarner is most played by far in the North American playoffs, certainly very proficient on it. With Jarvan off the table, we could see something like Rek'Sai or even the Olaf targeted if they want to continue to push Smithy down in his champion pool.
And I'm curious if the Gragas is going to be threatened at all inside of TL. Of course, Meliodas, notable differences when he's playing Jarvan and Gragas in terms of impact in the early game versus any other champion from what we saw. However, for now, it is the Hecarim, so just a lot of conventional power picks, limiting some of Zeros' options as well.
And I think on the side of PvP, if you want Gragas, you're not going to ban it here because you have first pick in the second round, right? So the Rek'Sai ban, I think, makes a lot of sense. You ban that out, you either pick the Gragas or perhaps even the Olaf here if you want to try to have a bit of a takeaway from Smithy. Certainly, Smithy does have a lot of other champions in his pool, played a lot of Lee Sin throughout the regular season, so there's tons of options still available for him, but PvP, very clear in both the first and second ban phase who they are targeting. They have a concerted kind of effort in mind to hold down one player.
The Nocturne now banned away as well, so limiting some of the options from Meliodas, limiting some of those surprise kind of level 6 champions. Of course, if you've watched back historically in Vietnamese League of Legends, Nocturne, very special place in your heart probably. We've seen some insane Nocturne play. Yeah,
and I think Nocturne, in particular, works very well alongside the Kai'Sa and the Galio. This is, multiple champions that can deliver in, together, right? The Nocturne ults in, Galio ults in, that procs Plasma, Kai'Sa dives in. So they are going to grab the Lee Sin here. Wouldn't be surprised to see TL just going for something along the lines of the Olaf. Because this is, a bit of a kind of shared champion pool style thing. Gragas certainly something that they could go for as well if they wanted a little bit of magic damage and playmaking. I do think we are going to see Jensen on something along the lines of perhaps the Zoe or even a Syndra because he is blind pick here. And they do want some magic damage, so...
Yeah, opting to go for the Sejuani here. Interesting to see Braum. Sejuani, of course, there's a lot of chain CC potential on this team, especially as fights continue to go longer. And generally, this is a pick that we've seen kind of rising in popularity slowly after repeated buffs over the last few patches.
Yeah, certainly is. So they are going to decide to go for something a little bit different. Securing the late game is the plan here with the Azir. Jensen, though, they can counterpick him, and they have not really thrown too many bans to actually protect this Azir. Yes, there is the Akali and the Aurelia. Certainly the Sylas could theoretically be mid, but there is the ability to go for something like a LeBlanc here for Null. That is what I would expect. It is going to get locked in. I think that makes a lot of sense. This is kind of throwing down the gauntlet here for Jensen. If you're going to pick an Azir blind, that is a very bold pick. Certainly something he can survive, but you have now kind of put a target on your head, right? You are saying, hey, I'm going to play this late game scaling champion. You're going up against Lee Sin, LeBlanc, some of the absolute best early game ganking and kind of pressure junglers, but that does say for TL, perhaps now Smithy has an obvious area of where he needs to defend. Smithy is very proficient at tracking enemy junglers, at trying to control vision and trying to control space on the map. So we will see. I am expecting that Smithy will have to spend some time around mid lane, but then the question becomes, do you play to your bot side where you have this oppressive lane, this really strong lane that you want to try to snowball, or are you going to try to protect the more volatile lane on the top side with your Jace who, wants to push, wants to be aggressive, and if behind, Jace not very useful.
And definitely difficult decision to make, but as you mentioned, slower, controlled games. Team Liquid always feels like they were absolutely in control in those situations domestically. See if PVB want to be the team to speed it up. If they can, match some fire with fire. And always, when we talk about different regions going head-to-head, the first step in any situation is that skill check. Can you win out on the 1v1 matchup? For Jensen now, who has taken the Azir into the LeBlanc, are you just going to be the better player on the day? Can you just outclass and mitigate what would normally be a weaker lane?
Yeah, and Jensen has always been known as one of the best laners in North America. That is really where he does shine. It is not only just his ability to farm and actually stay safe, but his actual skill shot dodging. I think his mechanics in that regard, being able to make these small movements to sidestep chains, sidestep Lee Sin Qs, I think is one of his absolute strongest points as a player.
Liquid fans in the audience in Ho Chi Minh City. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are, the first best of 5 of the day. Team Liquid versus Phong Vu Buffalo. Winner of this series will advance to the MSI main stage. Loser will get a second chance tomorrow against the loser of our second best of 5.
Now this is very smart from TL. When you feel that you are perhaps the stronger team, on paper they definitely are, you want to play a little bit defensive here at the level 1. They are not looking to get caught out in any sort of invade, so it is a 5-man stack by this brush here for TL, and now looking for a late invade to see if they can actually force anything.
Of course, Braum level 1, absolutely terrifying. The sheer power of concussive blows and an extended trade level 1 is just too much for most teams to deal with, but they will back off. Null does spot them out. And we saw Zeros miss the abscond over the wall, so not going to be able to do anything too sneaky here on the level 1. Both sides kind of just going to retreat, but Impact and Jensen still moving up to the top side, ready to fight if they need to.
Yeah, TL really trying to make sure that nothing crazy is going on whatsoever. They have early wards in both the pixel brushes of the rivers to kind of track where Meliodas is going to go as far as the scuttles. And they are just trying to give a lot of respect over to any potential level 1 pre-planned strategy that PVB could have. In this case, PVB didn't feel the need to actually do that. They are playing it pretty safe and standard. Had a bit of a line of scrimmage. Only thing that they have going a little bit weird is down on that bottom side, you could see that they are actually camping out in this brush.
Going to go for the flash taunt, just immediately want to get some pressure in the lane, but the exhaust has already come out. 4 stacks go down. Double lift still okay. The plasma just now procced. At the end of the day, a relatively even trade overall, but if they continue to land these stuns, I'm not actually sure who came out on top in that exchange.
I think it's pretty even. It's 3 summoners traded apiece here. A very aggressive start, but the problem now for Pallet, after that first initial punch, you're not starting with a W. You cannot actually go forward or help to push the wave or go for any sort of wave clear. So I do kind of think that TL should be feeling pretty comfortable about this. This likely will be drawing a lot of jungle pressure down to that bottom side, though. When you already have 2 supports with no summoners, they have to be defensive, and Meliodas just trying to run straight through mid lane to actually get down to this scuttle. Smithy has been spotted.
Smithy does manage to take it, however, and is now set up to defend the bottom side, of course. PVB still able to grab a fast level 2, so not off to too bad of a start, all things considered. And as you mentioned, now that Galio has an extra ability, things will get a bit easier overall. But Meliodas immediately going to invade here, seeing that his bot lane and mid lane have a bit of pressure, and will take away at least the big raptor.
I do really like the idea, though, from PVB, trying to put Double Lift and Core JJ out of their comfort zone. There was a lot of bans thrown the way of Core JJ, and now certainly, if the lane is going standard, if it is going all to expectation, Double Lift and Core JJ should really be feeling comfortable. But, a little mix-up like that can get you kind of nervous, can get you perhaps wondering, what else may be coming? Is the Lee Sin going to be here? What is the follow-up to this plan? But as it does kind of get back into normalcy, I again do still favor Braum Lucius.
And Impact doing very well in that trade, dodging out on the stun. Continuing to keep the pressure up on the top side, exactly what you want from your Jace, using that early game strength to make sure that Zeros is just kind of caught out and trapped under that tower. Always difficult to push a Sylas out of lane when he gets access to the wave, given the strength of that passive, but once he's under that tower, very easy to maintain.
And you can see Impact going the Conqueror for those kind of extended trades. Double Lift trying to hold the wave here a little bit to deny some CS, but Big Koro looking like he just wants to head back to base early, and at the same time, you did see Jensen expending his mana, shoving out the wave, resetting that, and getting an early base off, which is always going to be, a pretty nice position to be in when neither mid laner does have the teleport.
And now Jensen has to be a little bit careful here. Very close to that tower, should be able to walk away quite comfortably, but Null's still going to go in, still going to threaten. Can get the electrocute proc off, but not a lot else. And speaking of the mid lane, we've seen Lethal Tempo Azir coming in from G4 in Group B. Now Jensen's opted for the electrocute. Why do you think this choice has come out?
This is much more about the short trades, right? When you're fighting against the LeBlanc, you don't have the luxury of poking them and then getting your Lethal Tempo going, getting this long extended trade. This is purely more for the laning. When LeBlanc dives in onto Azir, you can get a QE auto off. That is going to proc your electrocute right there. You have the shield from your E if you do connect. So it's about winning these short trades and being able to maintain some sort of lane pressure.
And for now, Jensen very much going even as Null backs off. Jensen will actually have an XP advantage for now. See how that changes once LeBlanc approaches the level 6. And even in the bot lane, the early aggressive play for Pallet and Big Koro won them to level 2, but Lucian and Braum feeling a lot more comfortable with a few levels under their belt. But now we see attention from Meliodas coming down to the bot side.
Yeah, we'll see how early they do actually spot him. Just now they do, and they're going to have to back out.
Oh, well played by Core JJ, waiting, dashing back to Double Lift. Going to make it out unscathed and giving over the pathing information so the rest of the map can feel quite comfortable.
Yeah, but now Smithy is down there to actually protect them. He wants to make sure that Doublelift can push in and reset, because Big Coral already went back. He grabbed that Kerchay's shard. If Meliodas does face check them, they could be in trouble.
Double taunt is going to come through. Meliodas needs to make it into the play. Can't just be forced into the 1v1 with Smithy. The stun is already there when he does try to leap in. Smithy just needs to reactivate it. Going forward, the side step is there. Core JJ fast forward from Meliodas. He's going to get one back. Now he needs to make it out to safety. Lee Sin running for his life. No ward in his inventory. Impact on the bot side as well. This is turning against PVB. Double kill for Core JJ in the bot lane.
Yeah, well, that's why they're throwing the bands at him, baby. But either way, a well-played fight there from TL. I don't think that Core JJ certainly should have taken the second kill at the very least, and Impact TPing down to that bottom side. You would have wanted him to grab that kill because he's actually losing a lot on the top side. Look at this wave at his turret. He's probably going to lose 2 plates, at the very least the 1, plus about 2 full waves. So that does put him behind the curve a little bit, and either way, here it is one more time. They are certainly expecting the play to come down, Smithy lying in wait. But Pallet able to tag Doublelift with that taunt, and that really was the big thing there. Doublelift getting a bit too aggressive towards Big Koro. Nice sidestep does allow them to get the first blood, otherwise that would have likely gone to Meliodas, and it did force out his flash, which makes it a bit of a one-way trip for the Lee Sin.
You can also see the power of the Braum and the Sejuani together, as they just do not let the Lee Sin push any buttons once he has been caught out. Lee Sin, of course, grabbing the kill does mean that he has a couple extra longswords in the inventory. Meliodas can continue to be a threat. Null now level 6 as well, but a difficult exchange. Most certainly, if some of those kills had gone to Impact or Doublelift, this would be a much more difficult situation.
Yeah, definitely the case, because, I mean, really, at the end of the day, the big winner, as far as the carries go, was actually Zeros up on the top side of the map, because all the kill gold went to Core JJ. Zeros was able to deny a lot of experience from Impact to take away a turret plate. So, individual gold-wise, that is going to help him out a fair bit. Impact certainly still doing well in that lane, but his advantage was erased by that TP down to the bottom side. And we'll see how this does go as we do move forward. But Doublelift certainly can be criticized at least a little bit for actually getting tagged by that taunt, because Pallet didn't have his flash available, and that is really what caused them to even lose that 1 kill.
Level 6, though, now for Meliodas. May see some action here in the mid lane, but Jensen playing to the top side has an easy out with the shifting stance if he wants to take it. Null stepping forward anyway. I think trying to bait out some cooldowns so Lee Sin can get an easy in, but Smithy is here as well. Not sure if he's sniffing out the play or just looking to make a play of his own. Ignite does go down. Jensen gonna shift away, a bit of a juke there. Null stepping forward, immediately getting baited, but nice use of the distortion. Jensen's ult forced out. Flash still available though. Pallet now going forward. Doublelift is going to be in trouble. They're going to kick him back. The Braum not going to be in a great position to block. The Unbreakable essentially useless. Doublelift now set to give his life in the exchange. Big Koro now going to grab the kill. Doublelift laying down a lot of damage though. The heal comes out. Feels like they bit off more than they can chew. Doublelift making a good effort, but Koro going to grab the kill.
Yeah, it does at least force out that flash, but taunt flash there from Pallet. They knew Doublelift did not have his available after the previous play, and PVB playing it very well in these early stages. Pallet has to be a little bit careful, but getting that kill onto their Kaisa certainly going to be feeling very good. You would give that scaling advantage over to Big Koro, and Meliodas trying to take this time to grab up the Ocean Dragon, and that certainly will not be able to happen as Smithy is moving back.
Of course, Jensen returning to lane as well. So even overall in the kill trades, of course, CS pretty even across the board too. So a very close game thus far in the early game. But when we talked about what is good for Team Liquid, a slower game was the answer based on how the team likes to play. But is it the same in terms of compositions?
I would say so. I don't think that they really have too much to worry about as far as getting outscaled or anything like that. Yes, the Kaisa you would favor over the Lucian if it does get to late game, but I think Azir, Sejuani, are so much easier to kind of navigate and actually execute on in a late game team fight compared to someone like the Lee Sin and the LeBlanc, who really have to be able to kind of make big plays, play out of vision, get picks, these sort of things. Doublelift is going to have a lot more protection, and they're going to have kind of more consistent damage coming out of their backline.
And now I'm just curious to see where Smithy decides to put his attention. Of course, he's been doing a decent job so far protecting for all these ganks. 2 assists to the Lee Sin's 1 kill and 1 assist, but has the playmaking potential now that he has hit the level 6. And Impact, while he did have a pretty solid early lead in terms of pressure in the lane, is now struggling a little bit more. Hexdrinker keeping him safe in the matchup, but Zeros much more comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say Impact is doing well, though, right? He is even on farm. He's a little bit ahead, but he TP'd away from lane, whereas opponent TP'd 2 lane, so you certainly have to take that into consideration. Now, 3-man mid looking for Jensen.
Potentially in trouble, but Null is just now going to get turned on. Smithy, though, the rest of the team has arrived. Big Core going to try to lay down a little bit of damage. Sejuani's still so tanky. Meliodas on the back side. Could try to fish for the dive here. No wards for the Lee Sin in his inventory outside of the control ward. Would have to commit it if he wants to go for a fancy play, and he will. Kicks it right to the rest of the team. Perfect chain CC. Big Koro gonna grab the kill.
Yeah, really nicely done. And they have multiple members here on the top side, so they're gonna go straight for that Rift Herald. They're actually rotating Zeros down to that bottom lane. Doublelift gonna be able to pick up some turret plates, but a great job here by PVB, really putting the pressure on, escalating the pace of the game. This is the kind of style you want to see them playing to have a good shot against Team Liquid, and thus far, it's looking pretty damn good.
And a very creative approach on that play from Meliodas finding the flank. Null, though, now laying down a bit of damage. Jensen's still enough of a threat in terms of DPS, though, to dissuade him from committing too much further. Barrier and Ignite both up for the respective mid laners, but Zeros is here as well. Could look to steal on a Zero, throw him back, but will not opt to do so. Instead, immediate use of the Herald on top side. Wants to cash in on some of those plates.
Yeah, and they have to, because look, there's only one plate left on the bottom side. They're going to lose this first turret very quickly on that bottom side. It will be a race for it. PVB likely will win this, but it's going to be damn close with that turret charge. Oh, and PVB will get it.
Of course, the last plate, just so much armor. Difficult to cut through. Doublelift, though, still going to get a lot of gold here with Core JJ. Have to see what he's going to do with it. Kaisa and Lee Sin on the top side, the beneficiaries as well. Core JJ just has a lot of gold this game.
Yeah, he definitely does, and will allow him to get to kind of some of those support items a little bit faster. Certainly would prefer the gold to be on the carries here if you are over on TL, but an interesting call from PVB. Just move so many members up to that top side early on. The kill on Smithy allowed them to get quite a bit out of that because they had a great pick with Meliodas, kicking in Smithy, killing him off. That means they get Rift. That means they just barely beat out this TL bot lane to first turret. So PVB playing very evenly in these early minutes here of this game, and honestly turning in an impressive performance already.
But of course, I feel like there's a little bit of pressure now on them to turn it into a greater advantage now that they've taken the top side, because essentially the gold has now been evened up, but an Ocean Drake over to TL, and if the laning phase continues, that advantage just continues to compound.
It definitely does, but you can see PVB doesn't really want to lane, right? That is why they're actually going for these sorts of assignments. They're trying to move away from that laning phase, not interested in kind of having that 2v2 against Doublelift as he hit his Blade of the Rune King, knowing that Lucian is going to be very strong at this point in the game. So again, it is the lane swaps. TL sends their bot lane top. Smithy and Impact will look to hold down here on the bottom side, and we can see Big Koro, as expected, moving towards the Rage Blade. Doublelift will be going an Essence Reaver second, so we're seeing more and more people move towards this style of build. It is very strong as far as your scaling, as far as your team fighting, but we have seen some of the Lucians really struggle to actually get involved in those late game team fights despite the build, because you still are that short range champion. You still are very vulnerable.
Yeah, and of course especially difficult in the face of the Galio Meliodas. Whoop, just gonna get the Galio in the middle of the team. Talent now has to be a little bit careful, but you can see TL giving a ton of respect to the opposition. No, I'm not gonna connect the chains there, so will back off, but Zeros potentially in trouble now. Poor JJ trying to extend this play. The dive now coming out, immediate kill onto Zeros in the top lane. Poor JJ and Doublelift see their opportunity and they take it.
Yeah, I mean, when Pallet uses his ult, when you show Meliodas on the bottom side, there's nothing to stop them from going for that sort of a dive. So again, PVB happy to just trade gold on opposite sides of the map. They will come out ahead as far as the kill, and they will actually be outpacing TL as far as the turret take as well. So that is going to feel really nice.
Ooh, going in now, trying to extend it. Beautiful use of the knock there. Impact now retreating under the tower. Meliodas still alive. Impact taken down. The tower will now fall as well. Going to be responded to on the top side from Team Liquid. Null trying to find an opportunity, trying to find a pick here. Jensen waiting over the wall, though. Can look to go in. May just want to retreat. Pallet on the backside. Will have the taunt available. Is running into the midst of the team. Smithy has now been caught out. Null trying to find the kill. A beautiful wall to buy a bit of time. Smithy needs to run for his life. Will go down to Pallet.
PVB is just playing this game fantastically well. Pretty sloppy, honestly, from Impact to actually stay around the tower and go down there when it is that 3v1. The tower is almost dead regardless. Not really a lot to get from this, and Big Koro has been getting so much out of it. He is getting all this tower gold, getting a lot of plates, and he is now sitting at 3 kills early on this Kaisa. So Impact just caught out. Great engage there from Pallet. No real reason for Impact to be staying around, but he thought that Jensen and Smithy would have been able to get down there in time to help him out. That is why he is trying to actually stay around and perhaps bait his opponents in. But then Pallet coming in for the flank, kick into taunt. That is beautiful from Meliodas and Pallet. They're honestly playing a hell of a game, and Jensen forced to flash out as well.
Yeah, Pallet has been so incredible thus far. And you can see both AD carries actually the beneficiaries of so much gold. For Doublelift, it hasn't been a lot of kills, You know, Core JJ took some of those away, but has taken pretty much every tower plate that the team can take. On the opposite side of Big Koro, so many kills, so much gold going in his pockets. 2 items 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I mean, both these ADs are significantly ahead of the curve. When you look across the board, they're both basically even in gold, around 2K ahead of the top laners, you know, a little bit less than that of the mid laners. These guys are certainly in a very, very good position, but if you turn nameplates off, which would you rather have? Would you rather have the Kaisa on 2 items or the Lucian? I think almost everyone would say they would prefer the Kaisa at this point in the game to have gotten through those early stages and not really been punished by the Lucian.
Yeah, things working out quite well for PVB. And honestly, when we looked at this matchup, we expected so much to be about the top lane, but it has been a very bot lane focused game. Wild to see Big Koro and Pallet keep up thus far when we expected Doublelift and Core JJ to be probably the strongest part of this Team Liquid roster.
And I would honestly say it's been more to me about Meliodas. I think Meliodas has been incredible this game. I think this is better than any of the games I saw him play throughout the play, and his level of play really seems to be rising to the competition here. Meliodas has looked fantastic thus far in this game number 1, has 100% KP, really has been the catalyst for all of these kills, you know, finding these beautiful engages, finding these massive plays. And we heard some of the people on the desk talking about that. Frost, I believe, mentioning, you know, how good Meliodas can be when given these early game champions, and when he's kind of in his element, certainly feels like he is so far.
Absolutely is, but now we see the siege coming through from Team Liquid in the mid lane. A tanky front line as well as some solid damage dealers make this a bit of an easy setup for them. LeBlanc, though, on the side lane. Null may just continue to push here and try to get down some tower damage, or could try to find the flank. Very tense moment. Some good ultis connect from TL. The game could shift in an instant, but a lot of potential burst damage as PVB have some decent leads.
Yeah, and PVB needs their playmakers to come up big to win a team fight, right? You need the Lee Sin to kick in a carry. You need the LeBlanc to try to find this great double distort and get a chunk onto someone, because, you know, if you just walk in straight up and 5v5, it's going to be so damn hard for them to fight through this Braum and Sejuani, and Doublelift will likely have a much easier time getting damage out. So we'll see if PVB want to challenge. It really looks like they're going to commit to this.
TL laying down the gauntlet. They want the fight, and they are ready for it. Calling them out. The Azir ultimate is available now. Immediately the fight is going to break out. Team Liquid has managed to take the Drake. Big Koro still damaging, uncontested on the backside. Meliodas doing what he can. Big Koro alive and well, but 4 members of Liquid standing. Meliodas not able to get anything. Jensen unable to connect on the ult. Null still alive. Double kill coming in for Big Koro. He's popping up the back line. That's going to be a triple. He's looking for a little bit more, but Big Koro will go down. Jensen finding the kill. Null, though, on cleanup duty. Core JJ, the last man standing. The ace for Phong Buffalo.
An absolute bloodbath by the Dragon. TL get the Dragon, but they lose 5 kills, picking up 3 for themselves. Very well played by the carries here. Yes, some early members do go down. You'll see Zeros, though, stealing the Azir ultimate, you know, being able to get into the middle of the team, you know, throwing down, you know, the ultimate after Jensen's does come out. The Galio ultimate going down, zoning out, creating some of the kind of zone of control for them. And then Meliodas, Null, and Big Koro staying around. Big Koro able to flash out, avoiding the Shurima shuffle there from Jensen, then ulting back in as Meliodas had gone forward, getting Doublelift low and being able to finish him off. This was such a well-played fight from the Phong Buffalo, deserving of so much credit after that team fight. They went straight at TL and just punched him in the mouth.
And it feels like the second TL were split up. The second their front line wasn't in front of their carries, things got so incredibly difficult to play out. And while we were kind of expecting Lee Sin to be the playmaker there, Zeros, despite the low damage numbers, splitting up the team fight. The fall from the Galio was incredible. And now for TL, it feels like things are not going the way they expected. Double said, hey, I don't want to be disrespectful. I feel like it will be a 3-0. I feel like we're on another level. And here in game 1, PVB are definitely fighting toe-to-toe.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, this is a hotly contested game. The gold lead, you know, just does not secure the game by any means for Phong Buffalo. Certainly there is still the concern of, as the game gets later and later, as these members get tankier and the Azir damage ramps up, can you actually continually repeat those fights? They may be able to, but they're in a great position already in this game number 1, and certainly going blow for blow with Team Liquid, who is, again, grouping up. They're going to move towards this 4-1 strategy that they use a lot in the LCS with the Jace. They use the Jace more for this pressure in the side lane and less, you know, for actually the lane dominance oftentimes. They really do like to spread the map to draw people to impact. And I do believe that if you have Jace keeping Sylas in the side lane, the 4v4 for TL just gets stronger.
And things are looking good. They've managed to break down the mid lane tower before Phong Buffalo have been able to find that opportunity. using very powerful wave clear in the form of the Azir just to stop any side lane action. So while Phong Buffalo definitely came out on top in the fight, it seems like right now sieging and pressuring is in the favor of Team Liquid.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. The redemption now has come in for JJ, which is going to help. You know, I do think that the burst requirement for PVB is fairly high to win out on these fights. You got to knock people down. Wouldn't be surprised to see Jensen getting a second item Banshees. Would not be surprised to see Doublelift working towards the Phantom Dancer. These sorts of items to try to extend the fight, to try to make it more difficult for PVB, which just, again, puts more onus on the playmaking of these carries on the side of PVB, and thus far they have really been able to step up to the table and been equal to the task.
And the stakes only continue to raise, as you're saying. It only gets harder and harder to navigate a Sejuani Braum team fight, as well as Jensen, who will continue to become a greater and greater damage threat. 2 items now. On the Azir, a good spot to be 20 minutes into the game, and double Ocean too, so sustaining threat continuously can look to siege up. For now, it's a 1-3-1 as Jensen catches the side wave. Null and the rest of PVB may just look to make a play here. Have Sejuani could try to force a dive. Jensen not too nearby. Jace, though, has the TP available, can make his way into the fight if they want to kick things off.
Yeah, I mean, it is 5 members of PVB, and remember, we are post 20 minutes, so mistakes now are punished much more heavily. You can see the assistance pings over onto Jensen. Null wanted to look for the Azir, but Jensen did back off soon enough, and now the side lanes will have to be answered. Impact pushing out again. They are going to have Jensen on his Azir moving back to group up with the team and moving back into this 4-1 style. That really is going to be what they kind of spend most of their time in as far as this game goes, I do believe. You will have Azir answering side waves, but not pushing past the river. That is not really what the Azir's job is, and you're too easily picked off if you're far out.
Yeah, Team Liquid just looking incredibly comfortable at this point. Taking complete control of the bottom side of the map. Good vision now laid down. Of course, PVB have a lot of defensive vision on the top side, but so many wards are there for TL that they can't realistically threaten the Baron with what they have now. And the game's slowing down by a decent amount.
It certainly has, and it may come down to this next Dragon when we're waiting for that team fight, right? Next Dragon is in 15 seconds. The vision has not really been set up heavily around that area for either side. But we saw both teams opting into that team fight last time around. You do have to be careful of your opponents rushing towards the Baron if you do commit too heavily to that Dragon, but Impact in the area, they could even have him just kind of solo starting it up. He has dropped his pink over there, and I think TL want to establish control, move towards the neutral objectives, and kind of continue that march forward. But as you can see, PVB is already flocking down here. Anytime TL groups, they're like, great, that means we can 5v5. That means we can fight.
The PvE phase has ended, Azael. The PvP phase begins. Dragon
PvB
up
phase.
and available. Potentially the PvP phase. Of course, winning a team fight. As you mentioned, Baron is up. Both teams potentially able to take it if they can get out of this fight unscathed enough. So hugely critical fight as we move further into the game. Null finding a bit of flanking damage, but only able to hit Xmithy. Definitely not the target he wants to hit. Poking like that is going to be pretty useless against the double Oceans. Getting lower and lower. Xmithy going to try to go for it. Meliodas has secured the steal, but has put the rest of PVB in a bit of a difficult position. They're now trying to find the retreat. Null into the backside, but Doublelift unafraid. Dashes forward into LeBlanc, ready to return fire. Pallet now retreating. Rest of the team trying to back off. Acceleration gate is there. Null trying to lay down a bit of damage, but he's caught on the wrong side of the wall. The entire team collapsing. They smell blood in the water. Pallet is next. Team Liquid grabbing 2 on the backside of that Dragon fight. May just run right to the Baron.
Yeah, I think they will. They still have a lot of their cooldowns to actually try to turn for a potential fight. The Shurima Shuffle Flash ultimate is available for Jensen, so TL will try to make Phong Vu respond to them. Meliodas did have a great smite on the Dragon, and they secured it, but Baron is the big prize here. Poor JJ will look to zone. Remember, Meliodas does have his own flash and smite, so they have to keep this Lee Sin out.
Definitely have to be careful here. Meliodas, high-pressure scenario. If they go for the contest, they could risk everything. They'll be losing the jungler here, but TL is just going to grab the Baron uncontested. Meliodas now in trouble as Core JJ runs forward into enemy territory. Team Liquid grabbing the Baron. Huge shift in power on the back of that play.
Yeah, that is enormous, and it's going to really help them in this 1-4 style of play that they are looking for here. Here is the Dragon fight one more time. Meliodas, Q smite, beautifully done, nails that. But Zeros is pushed out immediately because the Sejuani hit that ultimate. You can see, look at the team collapsing back instantly when Null is threatening Doublelift. That is the call. They are staying together. They are keeping Doublelift in the back line. Null goes in. Redemption comes down, and Pallet wants to look for a potential flash taunt over, but the ward over by Impact spots him out, pushes him out, and the team collapses on their opponents, punishing Null, punishing Pallet for these steps forward.
Now TL definitely set up to take control here. And you can see Phong Buffalo, knowing that they're behind, they're fishing for an opportunity. They're willing to get that mid lane tier 2 if they can find a pick onto Impact. will reduce the pressure coming out from this Baron buff. 2.5 minutes, Team Liquid will have absolute control. They're going to break down this tier 2 mid lane tower. Imagine they'll try to do the same. Could look to continue to siege mid lane. There is not a lot of wave clear on the side of PVB. LeBlanc, as well as the Kai'Sa, very short range when it comes to contesting a lot of these creeps.
And very dangerous wave clear. If you want to distort in, you can potentially get ulted by the Sejuani and taken down. So again, it's about the playmaking, and Zeros has stolen the Sejuani ult, but TL will turtle around this Azir turret and buy time for Impact because he is already on the tier 2. He is looking to knock that down, and PVB are spotted out by the blue ward. Impact will back off and play this slowly. He's trying to grind them out. He's not looking for kills.
And the 4-1 from Team Liquid just flawless thus far, not overextending, but Pallet may have found the engage. Big Koro now throwing out tons of damage. Jensen will just barely make it out, but Big Koro is going to fish for that kill. Poor JJ now on the retreat. Galley's going to find his way into the back line. The stun comes in. The stolen Sejuani all turning the fight. The double for Big Koro now wants to continue, but Impact does so much damage on the front line. The taunt comes out to save the day, but it is not enough. The shutdown coming through. Double it, looking to clean up. No. Throwing out the clone, buying a bit of time, backing off, double kill coming through, but Double needs to make it out over the wall. Meliodas coming in to threaten. It's a scrappy fight, but Team Liquid with the pressure in the mid lane coming out on top.
Yeah, Impact comes over, does help to clean that up, but it was a great initial engage there from Pallet, knocking down Jensen so quickly. Jensen not able to survive, and Big Koro able to ult in, finish him off. That allowed PVB to commit forward to that fight in the 5v4. They knew they needed to engage. They were able to make it happen, but it does end up being TL with the extra kill, TL with the inhibitor tower and the inhibitor, as Impact is going to collapse. Let's watch this one more time. Team Liquid getting corralled in very effectively by Null and Meliodas. They're two stacked up, pushing forward. The flash taunt comes in. Look at Jensen getting so low. The redemption coming through. Does not have barrier up. Gets knocked down by the ult to follow from Big Koro. But then as Impact comes over, look at this damage. The shock blast lands onto Big Koro. A turret shot comes through from the Azir tower there. And Impact, no hesitation, flashing forward, knocks down Big Koro, which means there's not much left in the PVB squad. But still a great engage from Pallet, and credit where it is due.
I mean, absolutely a game of inches. You saw the supercharger run forward for Big Koro there. Was feeling himself, thought he could turn the fight, but it turns against him. Well played by Team Liquid. They break the mid lane inhibitor. 4 minutes now, where they're going to be in a severe advantage state. And honestly, this tier 2 feels pretty uncontestable. Still have a tiny bit of Baron buff left for this wave, but it is just now falling off.
Yeah. I think we're going to see TL try to pressure this, but probably retreat again back to the Dragon. The neutral objectives have very clearly been their focus, and you know, they have Jace right now kind of escorting this wave in. As members of PVB have to respond to that mid lane, TL will threaten the flank with Smithy, move in to cut off any potential turret defense, and they will be able to grab this. So very clean play from them around the map. We'll see if they're going to be able to challenge this inhibitor tower, or if they want to try to back off, reset, and look for neutrals.
PvP, can they find another miracle engage? Shock blast to the face, and all taking a bit of a chunk there. It looks like TL going to try to sustain a push for at least a little bit.
It's just so hard, you know, when you don't have the taunt flash, when you don't have kick flash, like a lot of those playmaking summoners are so critical for PvB to be able to get in. And you're not just going to be able to justice punch your way into the middle of the team and walk in, right? It really does take some sort of playmaking tool, and TL are grouped up as 5.
Big sign of confidence here, stealing away the Sejuani ult. Smithy ready to body block if necessary. Knows that he can sacrifice himself to get the carries. Freedom to DPS, but Team Liquid will now back off, may play for the Mountain Drake.
I think so.
And honestly, a 4K gold lead right now, Azeo. And when PVB were, you know, upping the tempo, speeding up the pace of the game, winning that first Dragon fight, it's impressive how TL were able to take a step back and slow down the game and not get caught up in it, not get wrapped up in it, not expose themselves to picks on the side lane as well. They've slowed down very well, and you can see it's benefiting them a ton.
Yeah, it really is, right? And as more and more of these items come through, it just gets harder and harder, because not only is there the PD, we had seen that the QSS was picked up for that previous fight when Doublelift gets not flash, the QSS is out. You know, these are things that are just going to make it harder and harder to actually knock them down. And there's more protection coming through in the form of the Locket, likely a Knight's Vow being built up by Doublelift, perhaps a Night Vow coming through from Smithy as well for Jensen and Doublelift to both have one. So they're trying to really make sure that they do protect these carries. And Doublelift will be soloing down that Dragon. Impact again in the side lane, trying to draw members to him. Again, this is about the pressure. It is less about the kills and the kind of lane domination. And Teal will again set up this 4-1 push.
Yeah, uncontested Mountain Drake, 21 seconds till the Baron response. For now, vision control around that Baron, heavily in the favor of PvB, but with mid lane pushed out, TL will have to complete and total access. No sweepers available, but you'll notice a litter of control wards just in every inventory outside of Doublelifts. Just throwing it down.
Gotta call him out. Sell that BF sword. Buy pink. But either way, TL gonna be moving out on the map, trying to set up around the Baron. They have a pink inside the pit, a pink outside the pit to try to cover any potential vision on that sneak. Now they will move in as a 4-man squad to try to get vision in the jungle. This is to try to choke PVB out of being able to even check on if the Baron is starting. And this is where it gets harder and harder and harder for PVB, and this is something that Smithy and CoreJJ certainly do excel at. You can say that they're not willing to fully commit to this until someone actually will show bot lane alongside Impact. Once someone shows down there, you may see more of a commitment to actually stepping up and trying to go for this vision, but they're hunting double lift.
Oh, marked for death. They want to get their kill on double lift, but Pallet now needs to retreat. He's been caught out by 2 members. A lot of potential CC there. The damage now to back them up from Jensen. TP coming in, but Pallet going to be taken out before the fight even starts. Trying to make the safety, but will not. An immediate follow-up ball from McSmithy. Big Koro now needs to back off the only damage source remaining. They're going to have to play very cleanly in this clutch, but it's not going to happen. Big Koro now needs to use the ultimate to retreat.
Double living in.
Going full forward, but now kick back in the rest of the fight. It's a messy fight. PVB still able to find a couple of kills here. Trading back and forth with Big Koro taken down. Meliodas next on the list. The CC is flawless. Team Liquid will find the fight win, and they may just look to end.
Yeah, I think they can end it right here. 40 seconds on all the important members that are down for PVB. They will go straight through the bottom lane, knocking down the inhibitor here. And Ken looked to press forward, and while it was a great kick onto double lift to knock him out, Jensen was never threatened in the fight, sitting on both his summoners still, and the TL will march forward to their first victory at MSI.
Pallet finally stepping forward, but it is just not going to be enough. Too much CC on this team, a 3-man taunt, but there is no damage to follow it up. Impact raining hell with the shock blast. The ulti will come out from the Galio. Ignite ticking down, but it will not be enough. Game 1 going in the favor of TL. It was rough in the mid game, but they brought it together and will find their first win on the MSI stage.
Certainly a very close contested game, though. Honestly, PVB, I think in those early minutes, fought back more heavily than people were really expecting. You could see that they had a game plan. They executed on it well. Everything from that level 1 cheese out of the brush, taunt flash at level 1, forcing double lift to use summoners, forcing CoreJJ to blow those summoners and start the lane in an uncomfortable position. And from there, I honestly have to give so much credit to Meliodas. I think he was astounding this game on the Lee Sin, playing across the map, forcing kills, being in the right place at the right time to really be able to get a foothold in this game for PVB, but the problem became, I think, in ease of execution for TL. The composition they drafted, they're extremely comfortable with, and Jensen was always that insurance plan on the Azir. They were never really able to punish him and put him down whatsoever, and he was just consistently getting stronger and stronger and stronger. It kind of felt like that snowball was rolling.
And once that one dragon fight went in their favor and they were able to take that Baron, when Meliodas was not able to access the pit, it felt like suddenly the pressure was on for Phong Fu Buffalo to be the team that engaged, and that's where it kind of started to fall apart. But for more on how Game 1 played out, let's send it over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Dracos. A competitive first game here in the knockout stages for the play-ins at MSI, but it does go the way of Team Liquid, the predicted favorite here in our first best of 5. That said, we had teased the possibility of a split map with Phong Fu Buffalo perhaps going to the top lane, using that 2v2 of Meliodas and Saros in the top lane to take advantage of Xmithy, while TL perhaps goes to the bot lane. Not quite what we got here, though, on the outset of the best of 5.
No, I mean, Team Liquid have been playing a lot of carries top throughout playoffs, and so we were saying, you know, maybe this is going to be a thing where they kind of leave them to the wolves, and that's where you'll see Phong Fu go, but instead it was actually carry versus carry, but neither received that much help as they really focused on the bot lane, even from level 1, even before the junglers got involved. It was so clear that that was where the gameplay was going to be focused on.
And it felt like this was really kicked off by Meliodas. I know that Xmithy kind of beats him to the gank. He's already sitting in the brush, but Meliodas and PVB were very clear that, hey, we're done with Braum and Lucian being so far forward. We are going to try to fight fire with fire, and then it all just cascaded from here.
And I think, you know, they did a really good job, too. Even level 1, trading summoners relatively evenly. They never really gave up that much in the bot lane to Double Lift and CoreJJ, and even made some really good repeated gank attempts down there.
Which is why I think Galio is also going to be a pick to watch throughout this series. Pallet is a very strong Galio player, but one of the advantages that this champion has is his all-in potential at level 3. And again, if you know that Double Lift and CoreJJ are one of the primary win conditions of TL, make sure that you do have some sort of firepower to bite back against this team, and Galio fits very well with that.
And you had talked about how, Pallet and Big Koro have been two of the better performing members for this team throughout the tournament so far. It's good to see them stack up against one of the best bot lanes North America has to offer in Doublelift and Core JJ.
Yeah, and the Galio does have that all-in threat, but you would think a Lucian Braum lane versus Kai'Sa Galio should, over the course of the whole laning phase, start turning those advantages, but the gank attempts kept coming in. They couldn't really make anything work well. And so you saw the Essence Reaver start coming out for Lucian right away, being like, all right, I'm not going for the crazy 2-item Bork Black Cleaver rush. So he actually started to focus more on team fighting because it became very apparent that Team Liquid was not going to bully themselves through a weaker opponent.
Yeah, I really like some of the pivots on itemization. We were talking about the defensive itemization for Jace in the top lane, the fact that he completed his Hex Drinker before completing his Black Cleaver, and it made sense, but ultimately it meant that Jace was going to miss that big power window when a Lucian would have 2 items, that Jace wouldn't have a completed item. So Impact felt like he kind of timed himself out of that game for a long time. But with Azir as the late game insurance policy, it didn't really matter. But kind of to extend that thought, I think Azir also works really well against the Phong Buffaloes because this is a team that's constantly flying at you. And when you have champions like Braum and like Azir, that's all they want. They want you to dive into them so they can just run amok and make a mess of things.
Right, control that space, keep people away from those carries that you need to keep alive. Now, we talked about how there was no split map in the sense of junglers focusing lanes during lane phase, but there was a split map in the sense that Phong Buffalo said, hey, we'll give you the bot lane. We're going top to take that.
Yeah, and I think this is a big part of why you saw that kind of pivot to realizing this is going to be a more of a late game focused game. It's not a lane focused game. And Phong Vu, we talked about how while they're fast paced, they're not like that crazy, never seen the strategy before team. It's actually very standard. Flip your bot lane top. It's the better scaling bot lane. Get them more gold. Focus on these kinds of things. And the top laners have to fend for themselves at that point. Saros gets caught out, and it looks like, all right, Team Liquid are showing, hey, we're the better macro team at this point, but they did not stay calm. There's a bit of greed going on. Who knows exactly why, but Impact feels like he can step back up here.
And I feel like, maybe this is an intangible, but PVB are one of those teams where if you don't have a lot of experience with how quickly they play, they can catch you off guard. And you say Impact 100% should know better. He should never be in a position like that. That's pretty inexcusable. He looks death in the eye, walks up to it anyway, but you don't really expect a team to play this high tempo, to go for those plays and to force moments like that.
And they better start getting used to it because this was when the game looked like, like Team Liquid not really have the better scaling comp. Yeah, you have the Azir, but they have a Kai'Sa, and she was getting a lot of kills. She's getting a lot of gold from the Rift Herald top and all those things. And suddenly it's like, well, can we even actually take team fights against this team?
Right, essentially 2 turrets pre-14 minutes just went the way of Kai'Sa, as well as a couple kills picked up. So she's got a lot of gold in her pocket, enough to essentially rival the Lucian in terms of damage output in this very fight.
Yeah, and which is why situations like this, I'm like, if Xmithy doesn't really nail these team fights with the ultimate, I think that this is actually just a bad time for TL to fight. We already talked about how, Impact had to prioritize his defensive itemization, so he's not putting out any damage right now. And for a second, it does look good for TL. Xmithy did hit the ultimate, but at this point, they just didn't have the item advantage. This could have ended up much worse. Yes, Big Coral got some kills, but I just think that was, frankly, a really poor situation over an ocean of all things for TL to even attempt.
Yeah, I mean, with their comp at 18 minutes, they should be slamming that fight, and it ends up actually going the other team's favor. Luckily for them, there's a huge mistake in the following Dragon fight that comes in from Null on the LeBlanc. Okay, they lost it. They're clearly in retreat mode. He wants to make the big play to turn it, but goes for the flash W, gets exhausted, doesn't have that much damage, and then because he went for the flash over the wall, his W can't get him back on the other side, so he just leads himself out to dry, dies, and then that's really why Team Liquid won the game.
Yeah.
They were not outplaying Phong Vu. They were not out team fighting, out macroing. There was a single mistake by the enemy team's mid laner. Great, you punish it, and Team Liquid domestically did win a lot of games like this, but you want to see more out of them.
Even till that point, then you get a nice little pick, almost gifted by the opposing team. From there, it's an easy Baron take. And as we know with Team Liquid, with that lead, with that control, they can absolutely close out the game. A small note, as we look towards Game 2, PVB with side choice has gone to blue. So we will see them swap. Any thoughts real quick before we move ahead to that second match?
I don't think many picks in the draft will change. I think both teams kind of got exactly what they wanted to. I guess I'm a little bit higher on TL. I get what you guys are saying, that it felt like it should have been cleaner, that it should have felt better. But I think for the adjustments that they made mid-game. Like the fact that he goes for the Essence Reaver instead of going for the automatic 2-item power spike on Lucian, because it's like, our early game didn't go as well as planned, might as well try to scale alongside. The fact that Jensen was just like, this is fine, guys, I've got it. I think even though it looked like they lost control, they were probably still very confident in that series.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that they can do in draft to be like, okay, so we can't just outmuscle them. We're not so much better mechanically that we can just pick whatever and dominate lanes. And so you can say, all right, not quite Lucian Braum, let's go something a little bit more scaling focused. And suddenly, like, that kind of concern disappears. And I think, Team Liquid is the much stronger team, and you don't need to go on some, like, let's style on these kids approach.
One of the picks, and someone that I do want to see more out of, though, is actually on the other side, PVB's Zeros. We have such high expectations for him. I feel like I didn't really feel him in that Sylas matchup. I think it felt like to me that the Jace was actually a denial. Yes, it has high priority on it globally, but it also is a big power pick for PVB. So I wonder if maybe with blue side, they put priority there and really start to get this guy off.
I mean, this is what's nice about the best of 5 setting for a team like Phong Vu Buffalo is like, yeah, they went bot lane and they did a good job controlling Doublelift, but they could easily have spent more time in the top lane holding the Jace down, who, spent his TP for not really getting anything in return. Maybe you start punishing the Jace more and more. He built an early Hex Drinker, doesn't do anything against Lee Sin. And so I think there are opportunities for Phong Vu to flip their playstyle more top lane focus and try and go through Seros a little more.
That's the thing that speaks to me, that even in a loss, I think that Phong Vu just proved to us and the world that they actually can either make the choice to stack up and play TL style, and they'll play them close, or they still have the option to go back to the top lane. We'll see what they do with blue side. Game one, lost my lips there for a moment, went the way of Team Liquid. We'll see if PVB can strike back in game 2 after this.